I said then, I say now. Israel has a right to defend itself. I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people.
Eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest. I believe in sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world.
We always say in the Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people. I'm not the pig. You've got to make a distinction. And the people are going to have to attack the pigs. The people are going to have to stand up against the pigs. That's what the Panthers are doing. That's what the Panthers are doing all over the world.
I've read Marx. I've read Engels. I've read Das Kapital.
The world is run by Trotskyists.
Hardcore Trotskyites.
How great an anti-American Marxist.
They're controlled by Trotskyists, as you put it, and these are the most evil, sick human beings on the face of the planet.
You're listening to The Left Opposition on everywhere you get your podcasts. This is a Trotskyist podcast. It's like a newspaper for your ears. Welcome in, everyone. Good to see you. We've got Chris and Doug, and on the program tonight, we are discussing a little bit about that debate that we watched Tuesday night, as well as why do we not vote for our enemies? Why are the Democrats our enemies, and why we shouldn't vote for them? I know Doug has been a very vocal supporter of the Democrats on this program.
Weird. He is so different off air. Like, you're going to see an act, folks. Like, this is amazing. He's always like, dude, vote blue no matter who. I'm like, Doug, enough. We don't do that around here. And then the camera comes on. He's the most ardent communist you've ever met in his life. Wild shit from Doug. Holy shit.
So to clarify what the Marxist position is on bourgeois elections, we also have on the program today special guest Mark Jay from the Firebrand organization, who wrote a phenomenal article on why we do not support either the Republicans or the Democrats. How's everyone doing tonight?
Oh,
doing pretty
I'm
good.
Doing great. Yeah, ready to do this. I am fired up. Let's just talk about the debate. So if all of you want to listen, you want to see this, how we record this live, go on twitch.com/Marxist, where you can watch us every 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Get us on the show. So if you're listening to it and you're like, wait, I want to see all these people talking, come right on. That's it. I'm going to shamelessly plug it. I don't care, Aaron. That's good. You got to build the brand, baby. But yeah, so the debate. So what you heard was Kamala Harris talking about a few issues. Israel, and this whole Israel needs the right to defend itself. I don't know if she notices, but Israel's not defending itself anymore. Israel is committing a genocide that has easily killed anywhere from, at a conservative guess, maybe 45,000 people and up to maybe 150,000. We don't know, because every single person who's in charge of counting the dead on the Palestinian side has been bombed, killed, or shot. So we can't really tell. But at no point in the debate was she talking about having an actual, not even a vaguely passing thing of a ceasefire, but at no point will the flow of weaponry be stopped under her. Trump, Trump in the debate, this was clearly he didn't win this one. I was surprised because at one point, early on, Trump was fast on his feet. He could answer quickly, but this debate, he just came off as just being grumpy. He said the craziest shit you can, and like some of the clips about people eating cats and dogs and everything. But I was surprised at how bad he was in this debate. Really, that was just surprising.
Something else is like the other debate he had with Biden, which, Biden has dementia and everything. He's on his way out. And by comparison, Trump was obviously lying through his teeth, but he sounded more together, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now he's arguing with someone who does not have dementia, who is coherent. Granted, she's basically stealing his program, because actually the one remark Donald Trump said that was true. He said everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat.
Mm-hmm.
So,
perfect.
He's talking with someone who is articulate, coherent, and there's a lot of people out there who, they were worried about Biden. He's out now. They're all coalescing around Harris, and yeah, she can put on a good show. She's, running to his right on a lot of things. Those clips kind of summed it up, and Trump's just making up all this crap about cats and dogs and everything. And
post-birth abortions, which is
which doesn't even
which is murder
at all. Yeah, right. And I'll say this: Harris did hammer him pretty good on Roe versus Wade. This isn't even Roe versus Wade is not even a radical demand at all. It's not, but it's just a basic demand. It's a bourgeois thing of have women have control of their bodies. That's even one of the basic tenets of bourgeois government, is that women have some control. He can't even do that right. He makes up bizarre statements. He didn't know what he was doing. He looked like he was like Biden, because Biden was feeble and just trailed off and went into weird things. The statement where she got him was like, you say weird stuff, and then what's the next statement he makes? All the migrants are eating cats and dogs. It's like, what are we talking about here? The Democratic Party with Biden and Harris has literally given Israel every single thing they wanted. Every bomb, weapon, and everything they wanted. Harris didn't do one meeting with Netanyahu, but she met with him privately after, so it still happened. But he goes with she hates Israel. Harris is just moving further and further to the right. And what Doug said too is that she changed all of her positions. She said she once was in favor of single-payer health care. She's not anymore. She said she's against fracking. She's not anymore. I didn't hear anything about the minimum wage. I didn't hear anything about climate change, anything serious really about it. No plan, nothing about the minimum wage, nothing really. It's just vibes. This is all going on.
The climate change plan was to increase fracking and put tariffs on cheap Chinese electric cars. So that's she is indistinguishable from like a 90s and 2000s era Republican. Heck, even like the most mild, even like the Mitt Romney Republican, John McCain Republicans, like she's basically that, right? It's truly remarkable. It's like we're watching Trump debate just another Republican. You're right. Nothing on the minimum wage. He accuses her of being a Marxist. That was a fun bit. Because
Israel will vanish in 2 years. I love the right wing fantasy of her.
I know
that is great. Fingers crossed. That's the Harris we get.
Yeah. When you put it like
Israel
that,
Israel does promise to get rid of Israel in 2 years and comes out as a Marxist. The left opposition, I'll say it right here, we support her. If she can become out as a Marxist and get rid of Israel, folks, you heard it first.
Trump was making a better case for Kamala than she was by accusing her of being a Marxist and wanting to give everyone free healthcare, and she laughed and said, "No, I assure you, that's the last thing I want to do." Something to that effect.
Well, you mentioned about like a 90s, 2000s era Republican. That's like literally true. She's getting all these endorsements from Bush staffers, these old guard Republicans. Dick Cheney.
Dick fucking
was
Cheney.
The big name.
Yeah.
And, we had bomber Bernie Sanders, going out praising Cheney as this defender of democracy. When Cheney, if you remember 20 years ago, liberals were calling him like the power behind the throne, Bush's Hitler. We all remember, if you're old enough, you remember that rhetoric. And, he's responsible for the Iraq and Afghanistan wars that killed probably at least 1 million people, far more than Trump. And now they're all defending this piece of crap, and
Yep.
it's pretty amazing because like I actually have behind my computer my Bush era like playing cards with like
Oh
all
my
the members of the
God.
Bush administration on them.
If you're old
And-
enough to remember the Bush playing cards, I hope you're not. But oh my God, yeah, Saddam Hussein.
I
was
did
ace
share
of
the
spades.
Cheney picture on my Facebook wall, and I think my joke was, I guess I want Trump to win now because I posted this or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in a sense, like the Republicans have realigned the Democrats. I mean, they're always a right-wing party, but you have like the Lincoln Project, all like these other Heritage Foundation type groups that have like are supporting Harris and Biden and whatnot. And yeah, the only thing they're offering really that's different from the Republicans is just rhetoric. You know, to give like a paraphrase of Mao, that the contradictions between the Democrats and the Republicans are non-antagonistic. They're on the same team. And guess what? We're not on that team.
No. I just want to piggyback on Doug's point too about former Republicans. So today, you know, Ronald Flipowski, that the liberal who is always posting things all the time, he was very happy to share the fact that that Alberto Gonzales, I don't even remember him, but he was Attorney General of the United States. And all the liberals like, oh wow, look, this is great. And in case you forget, the guy that he supported waterboard torture. He supported the Patriot Act that eroded our civil liberties, and also these are things he could do. And this is the memo he signed off. The memo said the 10 techniques that interrogators can use: attention grasp, walling, facial hold, facial slap, cramped confinement, wall standing, stress position, sleep deprivation, insects placed in a confinement box, and the waterboard. Just for context, during World War II, Japanese soldiers waterboarded American prisoners. They were found guilty of war crimes and executed. But this guy, Alberto Gonzales, upheld the legal right to waterboard. And now, as Doug pointed out, now these are all the heroes from 2020. We've all forgot George W. Bush, who killed over 1 million people, and Dick Cheney, who lied about a war. Got, you know, and I'm sure a lot of us had friends that went to school with their family members, like I do, who went off to Iraq, came back. Either they didn't die, but they got messed up. Those people never went to jail, never faced any war crimes for this. So I just wanted to point that out. So way to go. We got Alberto Gonzales today for moving. Oh, I'm just disgusted. But anyway,
here's Bernie. I don't know if I'll use this clip in the pod, but here's Bernie acknowledging and thanking Dick Cheney.
It's not just issues. Cheney and I agree on nothing, no issues. But what we do believe in is that the United States should retain its democratic foundations. And it's not just Cheney. I think there is a significant number of Republicans who say, well, you know, I may not agree with the vice president on this issue or that issue, but I cannot support somebody who's a pathological liar, somebody who fomented a insurrection to overthrow the election return. So I applaud the Cheneys for their courage in defending democracy. Obviously, on all the issues, we have very different points of view.
There you go. Thank you, Cheney, for respecting democracy and defending America's institutions.
this is the same crap that Biden people are trying to pull off. Like, when you need to offer people something like healthcare, like education for young people, action on climate change, addressing hunger, stopping war. People want that to happen. They don't care about this fake democracy we have in this country where billionaires select who the president is, billionaires decide who runs things. People, working class people, need actual help, and they need something. And the Democrats, and once again, Bernie, we need to repeal the democracy. This democracy is shit. This is a bullshit bourgeois democracy, and this isn't helping anybody pay the bills. But yeah, let's go for democracy because Dick Cheney said so.
I will say, Chapo Trap House said something pretty funny. They're like, if this is the democracy that Trump is a threat to, then this democracy is bullshit, or something to that effect. It's like, you know what? If Trump's going to end democracy, then good fucking riddance.
Yeah, this is. I mean, what are we fighting for?
Yeah,
to
exactly.
uphold this?
No, you're fighting for, because at the end of Kamala's closing line in the debate was to fight for what is possible. It's just more. It's Obama era platitudes and LARPing is what it was. It was just complete nonsense. Other than being strongly opposed to abortion bans, there was nothing of substance, and she ran to the right of Trump. Even the manager of the left, Bernie here, is like, Yeah, no, Dick Cheney, thank you. Thank you so much for everything.
Right. Congress, which has a 20% approval rating. Yeah, people really, really are excited and jazzed about defending that institution when they can't afford groceries or their rent. That's speaking to no one. Like, I'm sorry, 2 out of 10 people care about that. And yeah, look, I don't want a fascist government either. But if you actually address the material needs of people, then maybe that's what they really want. It's not this fucked up thing. So yeah.
Yeah, they could they could codify Roe v. Wade and give Medicare for all for everyone, and they would win all 50 states. But they're not going to do that because because to attain that, it would require the mobilization of a mass base that would ultimately be a threat to their power as well.
Right. I mean, Harris couldn't even bring up what Tim Walz has done. Minimum things like providing school lunch for children, paid parental leave, helping workers. Like, she could at least point to those minimum things, which are wildly popular.
Yeah.
But the Democratic Party keeps moving to the right because they think they have to win over Dick Cheney. War criminals are like, they're not appealing. These people hate you. The Lincoln Project is winning every fucking election, where every time they put up candidates and they run ads, no one supports them. People want actual material benefits to change in their life. And obviously the Democrats and the fucking Republicans or the Libertarian Party, they're not up for it. So, all right. So we're up on time for that. So obviously we've reached an impasse. In November, one of these two candidates is going to become the president. Should we support Donald Trump, who is nominally anti-war? At least he spoke about not arming Ukraine. Or do we support Kamala, who is promised to fight for abortion rights, but also not care about the babies in Gaza that are being blown apart? For more on this dilemma as to where Marxists should voice their support, we turn to Firebrand's Mark Jay and his article, Why Socialists Don't Vote For Our Enemies. Mark Jay, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks. Good to see y'all.
Hey.
Welcome.
So who are you voting for?
There's only 2 choices on the ballot this year, Mark. So let's think critically. Someone will get rid of Israel in 2 years. Does that change your opinion?
that platform would. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. If that was actually on the platform, maybe you have to rewrite this article. I don't know. This article will not hold up. If two years is, I don't know if it's quick enough. I'll be honest. I think it needs to be done maybe within 6 months, but I think we could debate that. But so initially, Aaron is the one that told me about this article. He's like, I just read this great article. You have to check this out. So we read it and we're like, holy shit, this is really fucking good. So I'm very happy you could make it. So we're happy to have you on. So first question, I always got my 3 questions I'll always ask. First, what got you into revolutionary socialism?
It's interesting y'all mentioned Alberto Gonzalez, because one of the first big protests I went to in college with SDS was the university had brought him on his book tour. And it was a paid appearance, and we disrupted the absolute hell out of it. I was escorted from the building by the Secret Service, but not arrested, which was nice. A couple of people got up on stage with him and were arrested. And I think it derailed the book tour. So that was how I got involved actively in socialism, was through getting involved with SDS in college. I'd been interested before, kind of reading whatever I could find from my little small town library in Florida, which the only book Doug will be interested to learn about socialism in that library was by Harrington. And I remember checking out that and checking out a collection of Ayn Rand essays and reading the Harrington book, and even at 15 thinking, I thought this was going to go a little harder.
Harrington's soft. I don't think that's possible.
Yeah. So, when I got to college, I found SDS, and, identifying as an anarcho-syndicalist, got plugged in and found myself in various debates and faction fights. It's like, well, I'm an anarchist, but I agree with everything the Marxists are saying, So when that happens, it might be time to evaluate your politics.
Could be. All right, cool. Yeah, I started off, I used to be kind of a Republican at one point too. And then after 9/11, then I started questioning things, which is good. We always start from somewhere. Second question I got for you too. Why Trotskyism? Why not say Maoism or Ho Chi? What specifically brought you into Trotskyism?
It was Raya Dunayevskaya's Marxism and Freedom, actually. Somebody I was organizing with in Florida. We were discuss politics. And I had my objections to the states that are nominally socialist in the world, and certainly to Stalin's regime, and had, I think, what is a fairly common position, which is, well, if that's what Marxism leads to, then I'm not committing my time and my life to that. And then this comrade was like, well, you should check this out. This addresses some of those concerns. And so that the emphasis on from the bottom up, what sometimes call socialism from below, was really the biggest factor for me, that making democracy central to a radical left program.
Awesome. All right. And the third one I always have to ask, Aaron likes when I ask this: patriotic socialism / MAGA communism, stupid or incredibly stupid?
I think there's a recent article in Firebrand that might address some of this. I haven't read it yet, but I'm leaning towards incredibly stupid.
There is. I don't know. Doug, have you heard about this article?
Yeah, about national Bolshevism.
All right, I like 2 segues. So, all right, thank you. Okay, just a couple. I like to ask that question, everyone, because everyone's path to socialism. Some get it young. Some people just pick it up. I mean, some people get radicalized. Some people got into Bernie and they thought, oh, Bernie Sanders, this guy's good. Oh, what the hell happened? I think that's kind of Aaron's story. I think, there's limits to how far they can go. And they thought he was sincere, got betrayed. For me, it was the Iraq War. I thought the Democrats were like, well, this is stupid. People are going to stand. I mean, Iraqis have weapons of mass destruction. That has nothing to do with 9/11. And then they see the Democrats and Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, all these. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I started reading about Eugene Debs and everything. So that's how, we all get into it some other way. But all right. So that was just my 3. Aaron, you can go ahead. Sorry. I like to ask my 3.
So the article opens with a really cool section on Fred Hampton. What did Fred Hampton have to say? And what can we learn from his unfortunately very, very short time in the revolutionary sphere?
Yeah, I wanted to get a little vivid at the beginning, and Fred Hampton is a good place to go for vivid demonstrations of revolutionary politics. And well, what he says is that you have to make a distinction, right? He says, "I am a revolutionary, and I'm not the pig." You're going to have to say, you're the people, not the pig. And that distinction between our side and their side as a starting point, I think, is super important. I pose in the article, the FBI and the Chicago Police Department conspired to kill him. And so if the 3 of them were running, we'd support Hampton, but there is no Hampton or Black Panther Party on the ballot. So the choice that we face now, I think, is between voting for the CPD or the FBI. And that's not really a choice. I mean, you could argue that the Chicago Police Department maybe is less harmful than the Federal Bureau of Investigation, but I don't think that is a distinction with much substance to it, right?
No, I liked, because when I was reading it, I'm like, that's a brilliant point to make. It's like, I mean, say you're against genocide. Let's just make up a random cause. I'm against genocide. And you see Donald Trump, who says, quote, "Let's finish the job." He said that to Netanyahu. Or the other people that say that Israel has a right to defend itself and that Palestinians should have their own state, and that we're working tirelessly to have a ceasefire. But in the meantime, they're sending all the weapons to carry them out. I mean, like I said, I like your thing. Well, the Chicago PD may say some really, and maybe there's some good things, but at the end of the day, they're both carrying out a genocide. It doesn't matter. One is not like, I know one is just flat out, I don't care. I mean, obviously, Trump is getting donations, I think, from Sheldon Adelson's widow, like, I think millions of dollars, just so with the explicit thing that the donation will be, you can go and annex the West Bank. I won't say anything like that, or I'm just going to hold back on a 2,000 pound bomb and say, well, I tried, and that's it. Like, there is no difference. The Chicago PD or the FBI end up being in the same place. And I thought that was just a brilliant comparison, because you do get people who will say, oh, well, you're only going to pick one, and one will be better than the other on this. They're not. And they have nothing to say to you anyway, but I thought that was awesome.
So I got 2 very quick questions. The first would be, great article and all of that. But some people will say, okay, we don't support the Democrats, Republicans. And they say, well, maybe we should support Jill Stein and the Green Party. And I'm curious what you have to say about that position. And the other thing you see from the, I guess I can be a little sectarian here, from the misnamed Communist Party USA, is they'll bring out Lenin's left-wing communism and say, well, this is the arguments here about why we need to be involved in parliamentary and electoral struggles, and therefore we got to support the Democrats, to defeat the ultra-right. And I'm just curious how you would respond to that position as well.
Well, I'm perhaps more sympathetic to the Jill Stein objection. But I think that if we're going to, as socialists, as communists, support an electoral campaign, it needs to be a socialist one, and it needs to be a working class party. And I don't think that is the best way to understand the Green Party. Especially as over the years, it's turned into sort of a conspiratorial mishmash of eco-adjacent, I would say, like petty bourgeois politics. I was in the ISO, and I've had discussions with comrades about how that organization endorsed Nader at the height of the anti-globalization movement.
Yeah, 2000. Yep.
Yep. And maybe that's a separate issue because the Green Party now is a different situation. There is no movement kind of feeding into it. It's just, so if we're going to pick a small party with no chance of winning, why not pick our party that we're trying to build rather than throw our support behind the Greens? As far as the Lenin, the left-wing communism pamphlet, I think it's such an egregious, and it has to be a willful misreading, right? Like, Lenin's talking about not ignoring elections as a site of struggle, right? And that throwing that out the window is ultra leftism, and it cuts off one of the ways that you can organize as a communist. He still didn't support the cadets. He still didn't support the czar. He didn't advocate voting for like liberal monarchists because you're opposed to the monarchy. So I think the comrades who are making that argument could afford to revisit Lenin's actual writing.
Oh, I agree with you. I joke that the Communist Party version of that is like 90% of the text was excised, and it's just like out of context quotes. Because clearly he means like doing this as an independent communist party with your own political program and all of this. And it's not like so you can govern the bourgeois state, but so you can expose it and bring it down. And, he's talking about that in countries like Britain or France or wherever. And you're right, in Russia, he was not advocating for support for liberal monarchists and all this stupid stuff as well. And just to say, the Greens, they are like, they would, if Marx was writing the Communist Manifesto today about petty bourgeois socialism, he would refer to them because they're filled with anti-Semites, conspiracy theories and all kinds of like pranks. So,
yeah.
I can understand how that can appeal to people because it's a ballot line that's like on the ballot that you can see, but we have to be more critical than that.
Yeah. I mean, nothing wrong. I think Jill Stein talks a good game. I think she has some great stances. She's actually, unlike AOC, she's actually against the genocide, what's going on. So that's good. Like, I like seeing that. But to go back to your article a bit and kind of piggyback on Doug's point about the cadets, why don't your Bolsheviks, why don't you work with the cadets as a coalition? And there's that argument we hear too, like, hey, like the Bernie Sanders people. Well, if we link up with the Democratic Party, we can fight for democracy, quote unquote, and then we'll work with the genocide enablers, and maybe we can do something. And I was thinking, like, what if there was another example? Let's just make up a country called France, and say there's a far right threat. I don't know, weird. I'm just making stuff up. And the far left actually kind of organized with the centrist to defend democracy. I don't know how that would turn out, but I'm pretty sure, that the left would win, right? Oh, wait, sorry. Look how that turned out. Like, literally, the French, Macron was like, no, I'm not, thanks for helping us win the election. I'm going to work with the fascist Marie Le Pen in the national rally. Like, your point, it was well taken. So, like, that's a good, like, this is what happens over and over. And we're doing the same thing. And I think your article is good for some people who think that Bernie Sanders is onto something that will, the conditions that led to a Trump or a Le Pen or a Bolsonaro or wherever, they're materially based. If they just literally fixed problems like getting transit working or roads, education, healthcare, food, like any of these basic things. And I think your article is a good splash in the face for some people who are thinking this is any way out of it. So yeah, that was really a question, more of a comment. But when I read that, I'm like, yes, that's exactly it. Like you're like they're using the cadet party because the Bolsheviks kept their independence, and they're like, no, we're going our own way and screw it. And I think you're right. Like I said, Jill Stein, will I vote for her? Yeah, I'll vote for her. I live in Massachusetts, which my vote, because we have such a great democracy that we're defending. It doesn't matter who I vote for because only 6 states really determine how this election's going to go. But yeah, vote for Jill Stein. But as far, I had someone come up to me at a May Day rally and had me sign a petition for Jill Stein. And they're like, well, Jill Stein is building a workers' party. I don't know if that's, true if cool, but No, like some people just say stuff, but I don't think she's building a
I mean,
workers'
Trump
party.
in 2016 said he was going to make the GOP into a workers' party. So
True, right? You know, I don't, unless you have the word socialist or communist, I don't think you're, no, I'm sorry. You know, if Jill Stein wants to do it.
I know there's been some like anti-vax flirting along within the Green Party as well. Something I'm not a huge fan of. Honestly, if you know, gun to my head, I would honestly go with the PSL, Claudia de la Cruz. She is the only one on the streets protesting against genocide, and to me that's an easy vote. Now, recently the RCP, they ran a candidate in the UK's election, Fiona Lowley. Did you follow this campaign, and what did you think of it? Right, this was in a district with no chance of winning for this party. But so, what use are bourgeois elections to Marxists in general?
So I haven't followed that election. I've heard rumblings, but I haven't looked into it. But in terms of what use are bourgeois elections to Marxists, they're an opportunity to put our politics forward, and as Doug said a minute ago, to expose the state and to expose the politics of liberals for what they are. I think the example of France, the recent election, is a good one, and there's a reason why the argument is never put forward. Well, here's why liberals should support the socialists. It's always, here's why we should go and support liberals. And when we do that, what we're putting forward is their politics, right? We're trying to, for whatever reason, whatever strategy we might have informing that, what you're doing is putting forward liberal politics to try to get liberals elected. And that, if we understand them as being on the other side of the class line, as being our enemies, then that doesn't make any sense, really. So if you see elections as a way to reach working class people with your message, right? If you're running a campaign, which I don't know, we could talk about what the prospects of this in the immediate term are, maybe. But if you're in a situation where you're running a socialist candidate, that candidate is giving speeches, you have people campaigning for them, and this is a way to recruit people to socialism, or to win people to socialist positions. Which I think that's the main utility of elections for socialists, rather than winning a majority and what's the word? Using, I guess, the state. Because that's not where we think the change in power ultimately comes from, right? It comes from mass mobilizations of workers.
Right. So this is a comment more than a question, because at the time of recording, this is September 12th, and this is one day after the anniversary of September 11th, which if you're outside of the United States, you probably know this more as the anniversary for the coup in Chile that overthrew the socialist president Salvador Allende in 1973. And this is, I sort of like, as dark humor, this is the anniversary of why the peaceful road to socialism doesn't work. Allende was probably the most consistent, the most honest person who put forward a program of, we're going to elect our way to socialism. They did the ballot box, they won a plurality, they started implementing various reforms, and the local military, the bourgeoisie, and of course the CIA intervened, and they overthrew the government and instituted a military dictatorship. They didn't arm the people, they didn't form Red Guards or anything like that, or just seize the factories and everything. And they lost. And they had probably the most consistent, honest attempt at it. And whenever I see people put forward about, using elections to reach socialism, not agitation propaganda, but to actually reach socialism, they never address, like, how are you going to actually overcome what Allende, like, the obstacles? And the most I see is, well, we'll just vote harder.
Yeah.
And I really don't understand, like, how after that experience you're going to say, well, we're just going to do it again, just more vigorously. And I don't get it.
So there's a real barrier, I think, for people considering that the state isn't there to, like, moderate multiple interests. It's not there to strike a balance. It's there to maintain the rule of one class. And so, yeah, if someone can't get their head around that, then they can't come to the conclusion that I think is correct, which is that actually we win things, including socialism, but also reforms, by disrupting the state, by being in opposition to it, right? Like all the things that Chris was mentioning, like these policies that used to be, I mean, they still are liberal. It's just that the Democrats are mostly center right now. But these, like, classic New Deal era liberal types of reforms weren't just won by the capitalist class granting them, or like good liberals deciding that's how it should be. It was in a period of significant upheaval, union struggles, and so forth. And that's where our power is.
I agree with you. Something else, and this is, again, more a comment, is I sometimes hear, well, if we vote for the Democrats and they're all bad, blah, 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 but they'll give us space to organize and we can win reforms and everything. And first of all, the people who say this will never fight ever because they're sniveling cowards. And there's always an election around the corner, so they won't jeopardize anything. But it's also not true, because if you actually have organized power, organized members of your union, your party, or whatever, you can force them to concede reforms. There's a reason, like Nixon was probably not a great environmentalist, but the EPA was conceded during the Nixon administration. There were other various reforms the Nixon administration conceded. It's not because they were progressive. It's not because they were pushed to the left. It's because they had to concede those reforms. Just like, the FDR was not going to grant mass unionization, and a lot of those reforms, those were fought for by, unions, workers, strikes, all of that. So it's not true that one is necessarily more open to the left or is going to give you better space to organize, because, COINTELPRO was used by the Democrats. I was part of the Occupy movement. Democratic mayors dispersed that with force. Democratic mayors have attacked, Black Lives Matter protests. So it's not like the Democrats are this nice cop.
With a Democratic president.
Yeah. So it's, you have all that. So obviously, that's how you fight for reforms is, your own power, your own strength, your own organization, because it actually teaches people to, self-organize, to fight back. Reforms are not doing these backroom deals and everything, but and all this strategic voting and all this bureaucratic rubbish, because you'll get nothing. And you could just look at someone like AOC, who, if I don't actually think she's sincere, but based on her rhetoric, she'd say oh, we're gonna get Medicare for all and all this. And just a side note, as socialists, we just fight for everyone gets free healthcare, not, period, stop, nothing that requires us to pay for it. But that aside, it's has she actually gotten any reforms at all in any way through anything she's done? Because I don't think she has. I mean, she's gotten a lot of money for, Israel, the U.S. military, and tax breaks for wealthy people. But I don't think she's actually done anything aside from maybe some slightly feel-good rhetoric that's actually benefited working class people. And even that she hasn't done. Oh, and she's broken strikes. So anyhow, that's my point.
No, absolutely. And I'm working on a part 2 to this, just a quick future plug. It's going to be in the form of an FAQ for common objections. And what you just said is I totally agree with, right? It depends, who's it going to be better to organize under, when they're president. That depends on a bunch of factors. And I don't think the party of the president is the main one, To
piggyback on that, we get told over and over again, well, we have to stop Trump. We have to stop the fascists. And if you vote for our guy, then you can push them left, right? How many times have we been told that? The entire Bernie movement was told, elect Biden and then hold his feet to the fire, right? I followed every single day of the Biden presidency. At first, it was too early, right? He's just getting started. Give him time, right? And then it was the midterms. The midterms are around the corner. We can't jeopardize that. You can't criticize him now, right? Nope. And then they lose their plurality and they lose their majority after the midterms. Now their hands are tied. So, what do you want from us? And it's this endless cycle of vote for us or the bad guys will win, and then we can't do anything. And now we have to appeal to the right because there is no left alternative. There is no left threat. And now we're in a situation where the majority of America doesn't even vote. They don't even participate in these elections. So it's a small minority against another small minority.
I just want to, I want to say from your article that I like too, I'll just quote here. Hal Draper begins with what he calls the classic case of lesser evilism. The appointment of Hitler to the position of chancellor in 1933 by President Hindenburg, the very person who had defeated him in the election. In this situation, we can see proof that Lenin's argument regarding the black hundreds above, not only did voting for a lesser evil not stop the rise of fascism, it didn't even slow it down. As Draper famously put it, the people voted for lesser evil and got both. I mean, the thing about the Democrats is they are the more effective evil. They can get stuff passed that other people can't. Obama got away with deporting more people, and Biden deported more people than Trump and Bush. The funding of a war in Israel, which, I mean, that was a surprise to me, but the wars, the funding of the genocide still goes on. And I think your article made some really good points about what Obama was doing. Reporter-in-chief, the suppression of Black Lives Matter, which started under him, the Keystone Pipeline, That was under Obama as well. So, and I think, and Doug said, Doug and I met at Occupy Boston. That was Democratic Mayor Menino who clamped down on it with the police. And that was Obama's Homeland Security was helping coordinate that. 164 people I was there that night. 164 people got arrested by the Boston Police Department with a liberal. If it was a right-wing mayor, maybe it'd be more of a pushback or outrage. No. But Deval Patrick, the governor of Massachusetts, he attacked collective bargaining rights, just like Scott Walker did over healthcare. It took away thousands of state workers' healthcare over that. But there was a protest, but because it was a Democrat, the unions didn't bother doing much. And what the unions do next election, spent more PAC money and then got him elected again to do the same shit. So, yeah, like I said, that was a great point in your article.
I like that part too.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing too in your article that was pointed out here, people who will attack, and this was something I saw in have you seen the movie The Iron Lady about Margaret fucking Thatcher? I hope
I did not put myself through that. No.
I've watched Triumph of the Will involving Hitler. Like, I'll watch any movie. It doesn't mean I like it, but I watched it. But I remember, what Margaret Thatcher she was getting sexist attacks against her, which is bad. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're some fucking neo-reactionary like Margaret Thatcher, but your article makes a point too about Harris attacking her. Obviously, Trump on stage is attacking her race, and a lot of the right-wingers are attacking her gender. We don't go that route. And I like your article, no, you can say her policies are bad. She supports genocide. She is against the working class. She talks about small businesses. God forbid the small businesses don't get enough help and all the corporate welfare they get. Meanwhile, we can't pay for our groceries. But I think you make the good point is that we don't attack anyone on their race, gender, sexual orientation, or I think that's important because I know sometimes we want to say the meanest shit possible to attack these class enemies of ours, but I think it's important that as much as we oppose Harris and the Democrats on principle, socialists have to fight against racism and sexism everywhere it occurs. Well, yeah, that was good. Like I said, we can attack her on everything else. That's fine. But yeah, well said on that.
Every Leninist will quote this line when this topic comes up, but this is, I think, really fundamental to actually having anti-oppression politics. Lenin's phrase, the social democrat should be a tribune of the people, right? So we're not just opposed to sexism when it's targeting working class people. We're opposed to it everywhere. Also, on the topic of watching things, I had managed to not see any debate footage until now. So thanks for breaking my streak, y'all.
That is the left. We are the Lion's Den here on the Left Opposition podcast. We have hard-hitting facts. We're gonna talk about Patzi's next. So, trust me, this shit. We go for the worst things we can sometimes. I'm sorry. We could have given you a trigger warning. My bad. That's on me. I apologize. I owe you. My bad on that. But all right. So we're kind of getting close on time for this. I just want to sing as now your organization. Say people like what you wrote. How do they say they like Firebrand? Where can they check you guys out? Where can they reach out to you if they're interested and want to check out more about Firebrand?
Yeah, so Firebrand is a communist organization. We've got some branches in some places. We're relatively new, but growing. Firebrand.red is the URL for our website, which is probably the best place to check out other things that we've published. We've got our upcoming meetings, including, there it is, on September 18th. We're going to be, I don't know if this will be out by then, but we'll be talking about Revolutionary Organization for Today as kind of an organization-wide public meeting that we're trying to invite people to. So that would be a great meeting to check out if this sounds good to you, or check out some of the writing on there. Also, all of our local or most of our locals have meetings on Zoom, so if you want to find that link on the website and plug in that way, that would be great.
Awesome. Also, I know you have a great Instagram page. I was just on it checking it out. So yeah, I know you guys are on Instagram. A lot of likes. That's good. It's getting a good buzz.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome.
Instagram's none of my business, so I'm glad the comrades running.
I know. Because of the podcast, I've had to start using it. I still have a MySpace account in LiveJournal. And it's
MySpace account.
I know. If you want, I can ask Tom to have us a friend request. It's going to be great. We're going to relive it again, baby. But yeah, so that'd be awesome. So all right, folks. So thank you. Thank you, Mark. So please, I will say the Denver Communists, we have them on too every Wednesday. They're always doing stuff on Zoom, which is great, because I know people it's a bit tough for me in Massachusetts to make it out to Denver, but Zoom It's pretty awesome because I don't have to fly a large distance to go there. But so, Mark, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. And if you do part 2, if you want to come back on, send us the thing. We'll read it and we'll talk again if that's cool with you, comrade.
Yeah, I'll definitely send it your way.
All right, awesome. All right, Mark, thank you for that.
Thanks, comrades.
All right, take it easy.
Take care.
One of the crazier stories from this week has been circulating, and Trump repeated it during the debate, was Haitian migrants are swarming Springfield, Ohio, and eating everyone's pets. This is a really, really, really crazy conspiracy theory. It's originated not
Hard to believe that Trump would say such a thing. These are very fine people, Aaron. So let's be slow to judge. Okay?
This originated not 2 weeks ago. And this is how fast a rumor, a made-up lie and slander, especially about the most marginalized people, it can spread to coming out of a presidential candidate's mouth in within 2 weeks. So this is a group called, there's a neo-Nazi hate group called Blood Tribe. They hold rallies.
Oh yeah, these dorks. Yeah,
marching, and they've been terrorizing immigrant communities, Black votes, Pride.
Yep.
They're all over the country, but there is one dude, Drake Berentz. He goes by Nate Higgers. So first initial N.
I get it. Yeah. Wow, he's very witty. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, not subtle at all. And so here he is at a town meeting explaining the situation.
Nathaniel Higgers of Blood Tribe. I was at the head of the anti-Haitian immigration march earlier this month. I'm sure the Honorable Mr. Rob Rue recognizes me, considering he supposedly knew of our action before we even arrived.
He's a literal Nazi. He marched with swastikas.
First of all, I would like to dispel the myth that you knew of our march and intentionally had no reaction or made no forewarning about it as a preventative measure. You had no more idea than the police officers or Haitians, and it's frankly insulting to our organization to make such a claim.
Don't care.
Second, I've come to bring you a word of warning. Stop what you're doing before it's too late. Crime and savagery will only increase with every Haitian you bring in. And with it, public frustration and anger.
You sound threatening to me.
Based on the comments
if I could ask the police to go ahead.
I'm sure I don't need to tell you that.
Just sound threatening if you go ahead and just peacefully be removed.
These people didn't ask for this. And they deserve better than to have to put up with violent and unruly outsiders.
You're done. Thank you.
Anyway, so he started this thing on Haitian migrants, and then a Black woman got arrested because she murdered a cat, and they latched on immediately. They assumed she was Haitian, even though she was able to vote about 6 years ago. This individual, she's certainly not a recent migrant.
She's a drug addict she has drug problems and she's mental health. Yeah.
And she's a member of the community. Yeah. She's just a member of the community, and she obviously needs help, but she killed a cat. Right. They latched on to her eating it. That was completely made up. And then it just sort of made its way up into the mouth of the president. It's
hard to believe.
It's nuts. And so now we have the latest Twitter debate is do Marxists support open borders and let all of these thugs in across the border.
Yeah, there's a statement recently, wasn't there, by oh my God, the American, is this the American quote unquote Communist Party? This is the worst thing I've ever read in my life.
Lots of scare quotes.
Yes.
So this is from Volcano Bulletin, who I think is
affiliated with
ACP. Okay, they had this massive screed about this giant thing about the communist position on Springfield, Ohio.
This is not the by the way, if anyone's listening on the podcast, I can't see that. This is absolutely not the communist position. This is what a neo-fascist brown shirter would say.
It's to show that communists must be against massive migration in the same vein they are anti-Zionist and anti-imperialist and so on. But the point is, the massive migration is precisely the intrigue of the same ruling class which funds the bombing of Gaza, Donbass, etc. Therefore, if you care so much about multipolarity, anti-imperialism, etc., as an American communist, you must also be against mass migration.
Multipolarity. So we need more imperialist capitalist countries because these are the oh my god, yeah, multipolarity. Yeah, I know. We need World War I situations.
And that kind of
I knew that word was going to trigger you, but like the fact is, these are more right wing bullshit talking points coming from people who call themselves communists.
This is some gray zone shit. This is the dumb stuff you get. They think that Russia's anti-imperialist and Assad is Saddam Hussein's an anti-imperialist. Jesus God Almighty. Can you go up a little bit more? There's a few more bangers up there too. That was the worst thing. Oh my God. What was some other points on that thing?
There was actually a journalist from the gray zone that was like, this is a bunch of nonsense. What are you fucking talking about?
Oh, all right. Well, hopefully that person's got fired from the gray zone for probably saying that.
There's a joke I want to make about that because the gray zone is like really terrible, but it reminds me from 2.5 Men, that episode where Charlie Harper refused to sleep with someone he thought was a sibling. It showed you like, and Charlie Harper in the show is like a horrible person who's like a misogynist, but it showed like even he had standards that he wouldn't violate. So the gray zone like had that standard. It's like, we're not actual Nazis. We're just we support a lot of them, but we're not quite there.
Right. I think the part of this article too is that they're insinuating that that these Haitian migrants are not working class. They are working class people. They are farmers. These are the people we have in common with. We work with them. They're not the enemy. People like these American Communist Party, these fucking MAGA communists are idiots who do not know. They're not our enemy. The people, the people at the top, the capitalists, Wall Street, politicians, they're enemies. But no, this is not a mass migration.
They're repeating like all like the right wing, populist Lou Dobbs type arguments against, about they take our jobs, they bring diseases, and they're lowering wages, which a lot of this shit, actually all this shit isn't true. And there's, I could recommend you stuff you could look at for that. But it's also, it goes in violation of every single communist principle. And I'll just start with the most basic one. The end phrase of the Communist Manifesto is workers of the world unite. It isn't workers of your country unite. It isn't keep other workers out. That's just not true. And, one of the things for the founding of the First International was actually to organize workers across, borders so that they wouldn't be imported as strikebreakers. And if you read debates in the old Socialist Party, the right wing was always, opposed to migration into the U.S. because they didn't want to bring in, Chinese or Mexicans and stuff. And they were called out by the leftists and the revolutionaries as jingoists, chauvinists, and racists. And Lenin came out very squarely like, you people are chauvinists. You people are reactionaries. And this is historically generally true in, the Marxist left to be in favor of mass migration and, look to workers from other countries as our comrades, not as our enemies.
Yep, bingo.
And if you believe this kind of shit, the only socialism you might be advocating, and I can't see it, but there's
I know once again,
it's National Socialism. Your Volk, your race, that's who you're for. And you're buying into all these right-wing talking points. And this is the thing with these MAGA morons, these ACP, is they've probably this is the base they're appealing to. And they're not winning people over to Marxism. They're just winning themselves over to more extreme Nazi positions. That's it.
And they don't even know it. That's the sad thing. I don't know how you can read Marx, Lenin, Engels, Luxemburg, and think this is the actual issue out there. And this is let's face it, this is open terrorism by the ruling class and its opponents against the working class. This is open terrorism. Really. That's open terrorism. If only they knew anything about history of Haiti and how every democratic government or any left-wing popular movement has been crushed by, first it was the French, and then it was the United States. Smedley Butler, if you know about him, he was sent to Haiti to overthrow their government, who were having an open revolt against Chiquita Banana, then known as United Fruit. Aristide was a popular leftist who was vaguely liberation theology, overthrown by the United States. Papa Doc and Baby Doc, Fred Hampton, who we talked about in the article, he brought them up that, he was like, everything was black. That, I think I'm quoting it, but everything was going to be black. But He was a puppet. He was an anti-communist terrorist who was actually and most amazingly corrupt people. But he was funded by the United States because he was an anti-communist. Haiti has never been given a chance to succeed on their own without always being stymied at the first slave revolt in the Western Hemisphere in 1804. And the United States and French imperialists have never given them a chance. They've destroyed this country at every opportunity they get. And then all these migrants show up and they're like, whoa, what's going on? This is when you vote Democrat. This is when you vote Republican. This is what ends up happening. The enemy are the Democratic and Republican parties and the imperialists who perpetuate the wars against Haiti since 1804. And before that, when it was Saint-Domingue and a former slave colony. So these people have been brutalized by America. So yeah, if you MAGA morons want to get with the program, learn about who's been fucking over Haiti and get mad at them. Call for the end of I'm sorry. You see this dumb shit. If they use our name, if they didn't use our name and they just said, we're Nazis and this is what we think, I go, well, at least you're honest. But Jesus, God, I hate this. These people are just the dumbest people.
It's a culture, not a costume. Don't use our name.
God.
Yeah. I'm glad I got Doug a little chuckle. So to his credit, now Haas has actually blocked me on Twitter. I don't know what I said.
You did it.
I'm blocked too by him.
I got under his skin. I got to him so badly that he went out of his way to block me. So I'm relying on screen caps here. Thanks to Socialism for All. Haas says, I do not know who's behind this account. With an assumption of good faith, I will respond to the so-called communist position in full. The position taken here is false, reckless, and in fact totally devoid of any communist principle.
What?
So I want to qualify this, because if you go on his main account, which I did on a different browser, he qualifies this saying basically he doesn't want mass immigration because, he wants limited immigration. He doesn't want anything like that will change like the ethnic makeup of countries. It's very racist. It's very Heideggerian and, preserving the Volk. So that tweet actually gives a wrong impression. If you read like his full statement,
damn it.
The thing I wonder if like he realized, I'm probably giving him too much credit that maybe he thinks, it's like we got to push back against this a little because we're recruiting too many Nazis to our movement. I don't know.
How does that keep happening?
We can't figure it out.
Oh man, a mystery. Oh my God.
But if you read his full statement,
actually said something good
on his Twitter. It's much more. He doesn't take it quite to their extreme rhetorically, but he's basically buying into like he isn't supporting like workers across borders because he's also a Nazi.
Shit. I mean, I like Socialism for All. I know there's Stalinists, but I think this comment I like a lot here. The maestro has responded.
The maestro.
And it is looking like an maestro. Yeah, maestro. Yeah, I'm sorry, Spanish maestro. Anyway, it's looking like an exhausting road of denunciations ahead of the scare quote CP as they distance themselves from their fans. Lie down with dogs, wake up with fleas. I completely agree that they're surprised. Like, are you surprised? Like, listen to what I know. That's amazing. That's
a pretty good burn here. He finishes it with totally.
That is a pretty good.
In quote, totally devoid of any communist principle, end quote, is a perfect tagline for the American Communist Party.
I don't think they intended to say it, but they said it. Yeah, that was good. So they had a real banger there.
Or as one American Communist Party follower said, lie down with dogs, they're eating the dogs. Because they believe it. They bought into it. Now, you're right. They spend a lot of time trying to distance themselves from their own followers and from their own fans. Now, Volcano, the original writer, says we are not affiliated with this ACP. They claim they're not affiliated, but like they're obviously...
They claim, but they're repeating all the same points. They're in that orbit.
Yeah.
They can make up all the excuses they want, but they're a fellow traveler, if you want to put it like that.
Right.
And that's the base they're appealing to. They're appealing to people with these kind of reactionary views.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we always emphasize as Trotskyists and any Trotskyist, any org, is political education and reading theory. Because when you start educating yourself and reading theory, you actually start losing dumb shit ideas like this. Because no one who's read theory would ever write something this stupid at all. So please educate yourself. Join an organization. I don't care if it's, like I said, we have Firebrand's a great org, ISG, RCA, there's an alphabet soup of them. But for God's sakes, don't go to the American Communist Party because this is just terrible. I can't believe how trash that statement was, but they don't speak for any communists. I mean, the only socialists they speak to are like the National Socialists.
Yeah, I mean, not the Communist Party USA, not DSA, none of them. Like PSL, Workers' World, Maoists. Like, it's like they've literally created a united front of everyone, from the mildest leftist to the most hardcore Trotskyist anarchist who hates them.
Yeah. So that's it. My God. Sometimes they think they're being attacked and they think that's like, oh, look, we're onto something. Like, no, everyone is attacking you because you're an idiot. You know, if I was trying to open the door during an airplane ride, everyone, oh, look, everyone's trying to stop me from opening the door during the airplane. You know, I must be onto something. This is the same mentality. But all right. So we're up on time, folks. So anything we want to plug or anything upcoming events anyone knows of anything? I know, Doug, did you write an article recently?
Yeah, so I wrote an article. It was published as a guest post on Firebrand, and it's called Wandering in the Void, the Dead End of National Bolshevism. And it's mostly looking at the first major instance of National Bolshevism in German communism in the 1920s, and some of the debates around that, some of the history, and pretty much why it would, and this is the spoiler warning, it was a really dumb idea at the time, and it's dumb now. It's basically, it's not Marxism. It's a Frankenstein monster. You shouldn't do it. And anyone who does is stupid.
Oh, good. And I'm looking at it right now. It's on the screen. I see multipolarity. Oh, Doug, thank you. That's all Chris needed to see to know we're onto something. Thank you.
I think that's the only mention of multipolarity. Unfortunately,
it's part of the tenets, you know.
I do mention MAGA communism, I think twice in throwaway lines, but
all right.
But you can read it without acknowledging them if you want.
Oh God. All right. So there we are, folks. Once again, I want to thank you. We got some new Patreon supporters. Thank you very much for that. We always appreciate the support. I know it's tough getting by. If you can donate, you can enter a lower level as $5 a month. You can, obviously we'll take more. It's fine. That's great. But really, we are humbled by this. Thank you. So please check out patreon.com/the Left Opposition Podcast. You can follow us on Facebook on the Left Opposition Podcast. You can follow us on Threads under the Left Opposition Podcast. Instagram, you can just guess what name we're going to use on that one too. It's actually, yeah, I can't think of a joke. I was on a roll. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, so please follow us there. So feel free to spread the word. And speaking for everyone here, keep up the fight, keep up the struggle. And we will see you on the stream next Thursday. I believe, do we have something picked out for next week? A topic yet? We will. We have a few ideas. I know we could do Patzi's, Tiananmen Square. We got some topics, but also, yeah, if you want, send us an email at the Left Opposition Podcast at gmail.com. Check us out there. Send if there's a topic you want to talk about, you think we want to cover, bring it up. You know, that's fine. We're up for anything. You know, it's cool. If our fans want us to hear something, talk about something, that's fine. If you want to know what did Trotskyists think about North Korea? What do we think about trade unions? Whatever it is, you know, let us know. So,
right into the foreign worker state of North Korea to nuclear weapons.
God, that's right. You know, perfect. That's it. I think that we should. God, North Korea. Yeah. So perfect. Yeah. I think that's it for Pluggables. Everyone, we will see you next week. See you then.
I'm never gonna vote for president, because they're all the same. Close your eyes and pick a name. We should throw the bastard